So the topic of my talk is embracing inconsistency. In tiny letters underneath, you'll see the struggle and the obstacle. That's really what I want to talk to you guys about. I'm going to tell you guys a story. So come with me on this really fun journey. First, this is kind of my vanity slide. So for those of you who are wondering who I am, why you should listen to me, I've been working for a long time, more than 22 years. I've been managing for 12 plus years. These are the companies where I've been a manager. If you guys have any questions, I actually had a great time in all these places. Some of the places were more trying than others. But, you know, I think like all of you guys, you work in great companies, you work with great people, and you learn a lot. Next. So, as I said, the topic of my talk is the struggle and the obstacle. So first I'm going to start by talking about what the struggle is not about. So the struggle is not about the $6 soy decaf mochas that some of you may be drinking every day. I drink those, so don't feel like I'm making fun of you guys. The struggle is not about the beautiful offices that we work in with exposed wooden beams and exposed brick surfaces and the air-on chairs, which, God forbid, somebody switches your chair with somebody else because you won't remember how to set it again. The struggle is certainly not about you being fed up with belly burgers in your catered lunches at work just because the office manager happened to order it twice in the 3-month period. The struggle is also not about you staring at your Thunderbolt display, seeing how it's very different from your Retina MacBook Pro, and wondering why Apple hasn't released a new monitor in 5 years. And the struggle is, well, it's only partially about you sitting in front of your screen, at least it's something that I do, always forgetting shell script syntax. I'm not sure what it is about shell script syntax that makes it impossible to remember. But what the struggle is about is, frankly speaking, it's really the reason why you guys are all here. It's the reason why you guys wake up every single day. It's the fire, hopefully, that's burning inside of you. It's the thing that separates each of you, and I hope each of you want to not be a corporate drone. Yet every day you get up and you go to work. And we go to work to engage in the struggle. The struggle is about making our companies successful. The struggle is about making our software ubiquitous. The struggle is about making our teams productive. The struggle is about making each and every member of our team happy, fulfilled, growing, developing, and so on. That's the struggle. And I don't know about you guys, but I find that super exciting. And that's why I go to work every day. That's why for the last 22 years, other than, for money reasons and so on, I get up every day, I say goodbye to my wife and my children, and I go to work. And this picture, some of you guys don't look like this person. You may not be a man, you may not be white, you may not be as old as this person or as young as this person, but just imagine you're there. And probably, hopefully none of you guys do any PHP. Like this guy has. But nevertheless, the struggle is real. That's I think we've all been there. We've been there struggling, wondering about many things. And again, I've been doing this for a long time. And in all the years that I've been doing this, in particular as I took on more and more leadership or ownership responsibility, however you want to describe it, I noticed this one thing that kept on coming up over and over and over again. In particular, once I had the incredible honor of working with people who are incipient leaders, the opportunity of growing them, I saw these people trip over the same things over and over again. And that's what I call the obstacle. And it manifests itself in different ways, and we'll talk about that. But let me talk a little bit about what I mean by the obstacle. This is what happens to people. Happens to me a lot, happens to my managers a lot, happens to people on my team a lot. It's something that people, again, they trip over and over again. It's a thorn that pricks everyone over and over again. So what is it? Well, if you'll forgive the theatrics a little bit, the alliteration, it is the inherent, the inevitable, the incorrigible, the inescapable, the ineluctable fact that human beings are inconsistent. And for all of you guys, as leaders or managers, whatever you guys want to call yourselves, Once you take that leap into being a manager, a lot of your success is determined by other human beings. Your clay, using a sculpting metaphor, or your canvas, using a painting metaphor, are other human beings. And human beings are not predictable. They are over and over and over again inconsistent. I am inconsistent. All of you guys are inconsistent. And let me just tell you, them being inconsistent doesn't make them bad. It does make it somewhat frustrating for us to do our job. So I'm going to go into some examples of some of these inconsistencies. Plot twist, I'll give you the plot twist ahead of time. All of these things I've personally experienced. So these are somewhat true stories. We may have changed a few details. So say you're going to work. If you're fortunate enough to be here in the Bay Area, which is awesome, maybe you're sitting on Muni. If you're unfortunate like me, you're driving down 280 down the peninsula to your job, and say you get a text message from your boss, burn's getting high, negotiate better with new hires. Okay, you can look at that and you can say, so apparently I need to worry about our burn, I need to worry about our expenses, fairly significantly if I'm getting a text message about it. But at the same time, I need to continue to hire. Okay, a little bit of inconsistency there. 10:40 a.m., you get a message, let's just say a Slack message, you're sitting at your desk, you have a few minutes in between meetings, between one-on-ones, and your boss says, hey, an important customer is experiencing a bug. Can we get our best engineer to look at it? Okay. A little bit of micromanagement probably also going on there, but we deal with it. And then at 11:25 a.m., let's say you get an email, again from your boss saying, the competition is launching a big feature. What can we do to bring our killer feature into next month's release? So here the inconsistency is a little bit, well, we need to focus on solving bugs, production issues, but at the same time, we need to not only continue working on features, but we need to work on features much more, beyond whatever the estimate was. Some of you guys may have experienced this. I think all of you guys have probably experienced this. Let me give you another example. Let's say you're having a one-on-one with a manager on your team. And you're talking to her, and you're talking about some of the recent issues with the code that they pushed into production. You've noticed that there have been a number of production issues. Things haven't worked quite as well as you guys needed. You've looked over her team, and you have some ideas. You want to go over ideas about how she can do a better job, her team can do a better job. Fairly common. Presumably this is one of the 4 questions that Michael asks during his one-on-ones. And as you're doing your research, you find out that a lot of the folks that she's been hiring, they are very junior. I won't necessarily comment on their age, but let's just say they don't have that much experience. So you start talking to her, and you find out, you uncover, using your very skillful one-on-one techniques, all of the psychological tools that all of you, I'm sure, have as managers, you uncover that she is diffident. She lacks the confidence of, one, being able to hire some leads or senior engineers, because it's harder to hire seniors and leads. And 2, she's also worried about being able to maintain influence over these kind of strong personalities. I think many of us have dealt with curmudgeonly type people, ... I can use other terms to describe them. And that's fine, so you park that aside and you make a mental note to yourself, okay, you know what, we'll work on this over the next few one-on-ones and so on. You talk about some other things, and finally the one-on-one is coming to an end. And as is often the case, at the end of one-on-ones, that's when you get some of the best questions. She says, I have one more thing. I really want to talk about career advancement. I want to talk about responsibility. I'd really like to have more responsibility. I want to show everybody all the things that I can do. And in your head, you kind of put those 2 things together. Okay, so on the one hand, you're worried about some of the things that you really need her to do, which is to be able to hire really the best people and, in fact, hire some more experienced folks, but she's worried about being able to have influence over them. But at the same time, she wants more responsibility and so on. So you have this kind of reaction. Facepalm, tip for everybody here, don't actually facepalm if that's a verb in a one-on-one situation. You can do it in your head, not in person. But again, that's another bit of inconsistency. I'll give yet another story before I talk about some solutions. You're walking down the hallway in your office, beautiful, apparently you guys have nice concrete walls and so on, and you run into one of the best engineers in the company. And you say, hey, how's it going? And the engineer tells you, well, you know, it's kind of going okay. So give you guys a little bit of context. Let's say you work at a company where you guys have a bunch of Java services. You guys are a Java shop. And some of these services are pushing, let's just say, tens of thousands of requests per second. This engineer, one of the best in the company, recently came to you and asked to move to another team because they wanted to work on scalability issues. It happens. I'm sure you guys have run into this. So you pulled a few strings, called in a few favors, and you moved this engineer to a team where they could develop their scalability skills, say. Now, at the same time, you know, it's a Java shop. A lot of devs in 2016 don't really love using Java, so you guys are also, say, moving to Node. So some of your newer services that you guys are spinning up are Node. It happens, you know, the new hotness. So then this guy says, yeah, you know, I asked to work on this scalability kind of problems, but I really want to work on some of this new Node stuff. And again, you think to yourself, well, you asked for one thing, you've been there for a couple of months, and now you're asking for something else, so another kind of facepalm moment that you have to deal with. And these are just some examples. I'm going to generalize a little bit to give you some more examples without telling you these long-winded stories. You'll see this over and over again. People, for example, people want to be informed until they don't want to be informed. People want to be responsible, but they don't want to be held accountable. People want to be empowered, but they don't want to be responsible. People want to build new things, but they don't want to take big risks. People want to follow their passions, but they don't want to take a pay cut. This happens over and over and over again. And your jobs as managers is to not throw your hands up and give up when you encounter this, because you will encounter this, and I'm sure you've probably encountered this already. I encounter this on a daily basis. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you guys about this, when I was wondering, thinking about what I should talk to you guys about, I thought about what is the advice that I often give to the people on my team. And it's basically this, is to watch out for this. So what's the solution to all of this? The solution is to pretend that inconsistency is a little fluffy stuffed animal and then hug the hell out of it. Embrace it. Because it's here. It's part of your jobs. You need to anticipate it. You need to plan for it. You need to understand it. You need to not be surprised by it. You will be frustrated by it. That's okay. But ultimately, really what you can't do is let any of your reaction to these inconsistencies that you will see, in more negative terms, you can call it hypocrisy. People talk about it in that sense. Don't let that negativity affect the decisions that you have to make. And as leaders and managers, one of the biggest deliverables, maybe the only deliverable, that you actually have to create in your job are decisions. That's what you do. So what does it mean in practical terms? There's a don't that I'll start with. Don't whine about it. I don't know about you guys. Maybe it's a little bit about my management style. I like to call it a mix of Asian, Indian, tiger dad-ish with only the positive sides of that, with the positive sides of growing up here and so on. But don't whine about it. You can commiserate, but don't whine about it. And by whining again, it's don't let it affect your decisions, the things you're actually creating. Going and talking about it with your boss, I mean, I hope you guys do this already. You have something that you want to get off your chest, you go in a room and you just laugh about it with some of your peers or your boss. That's fine, but don't let it affect the decisions that you're making. Here comes the framework. There's beautiful drive decision making. Framework or heuristic, I should have just left framework out and called it heuristic, would have made me a little bit more unique. And then use this framework judiciously and ruthlessly. And here, actually, the main point I want to talk to you guys about is that notion of using it ruthlessly. Every choice you make, there will be positive consequences, there will be negative consequences. The advantage of having such a heuristic is it frees you. It makes you comfortable with the negative consequences. And by negative consequences, what am I talking? I'm talking about maybe you'll go and give one of your employees a bad message, and maybe they'll resign. But if you're confident that you made the right decision, then so be it. Maybe you'll go to your CEO and tell your CEO that he can't have something that he really, really wants. And maybe, I think it's unlikely, but it's possible, that he'll yell at you or there'll be some negative interaction. Maybe you'll want to quit. And maybe that'll be the negative consequence. But if you've made your decision using some kind of heuristic, again, that makes you very comfortable with the choice you've made, then that's fine. And I'll tell you, it gets so much easier for us to do our jobs because we have to make difficult decisions over and over and over again. So let me give you an example. This is kind of, and this is all fairly obvious, but this is kind of the framework that I use or the heuristic that I use. And the way to use this is, these are a list of goals that we want to try to accomplish, and they're in priority order. Every decision that, say, I make must be consistent with these priorities in that order. They need not be consistent with every priority there, but you have to start from the top, and then you go down, and you may stop somewhere. So, for example, again, it's fairly obvious, you can only do what is possible. This is a mistake that people make. Experienced leaders, certainly new leaders, make over and over and over again because of the incredible pressures that are on all of you to hire, to manage performance, to hit crazy dates, to make sure that the quality is extremely high. We are often in positions where we are continuously being forced to kind of commit to things that we kind of know are not possible. And sometimes it's okay to do that in terms of stretch goals and so on, but in almost every instance, if you're not very good at setting those expectations, you have to learn how to say no and deal with the consequences of saying no. So, but still, you can only do what's possible. It's fairly obvious. Next is optimize for company success, customer success, team success, employee success, and then lastly, your success. And I believe that if you follow these priorities, even if, for example, it feels like you're shortchanging your own success, if you follow those long enough, it will drive success in all the other areas as well, certainly your success. And if that doesn't happen in the place where you're working, then come and talk to me, send me your LinkedIn profile. So now let's just quickly go over the examples that I talked about before, and we'll try to apply it to see what we should do. So here, our burn is getting high, negotiate better with new hires. So where's the inconsistency? Apparently we need to worry about burn. We still need to worry about hiring. What I would do in this circumstance is actually go and, whether it's the CEO who's sending me this message or the CFO, and go and talk to them to say, help me understand, do I really, really need to worry about the burn? Certainly we always care about expenses, don't misunderstand me, but worrying about the burn is something else. Because let me tell you, I don't want to hire people if I have to lay them off 6 months later. And when you've been doing the job as long as I have, I've been in that situation and I've had to lay people off, let me tell you, you do not want to lay people off. So it's really have that conversation. Understand really what the issue is. And then you'll know what is the best thing to do for the company. If the burn is a real issue, which may be the case, many of us work at startups, that's life, it's what we sign up for. We understand the risks. Okay, let's worry about the burn. I'm fine with that. But then I'm not going to hire. And I'm certainly not going to pick this elegant, cute solution of, okay, I need to worry about the burn, I still need to hire, so let me just negotiate better. Hiring somebody such that 6 months from now they figure out, you know what, I'm not getting paid what I should. And I don't know if you guys know this, but even as hiring managers, we have a lot of ability of convincing people to do things that maybe aren't in their best interest. Don't do that. It's just not a good thing to do. Next example. Here we have a customer issue or production issue, and we also have pressure to accelerate feature development. Again, I think this is something very common. You guys have all experienced this. So there are different techniques. One technique can be, so sometimes, some of you guys, hopefully none of you guys sandbag, but you can plan a little bit of slack in your process such that you can squeeze things in because things come up. But in general, the 2 minutes, in general you need to be, you need to think about what's actually real here. Do we care about the quality of the work that we're doing? Is it better to roll out a product that has a ton of bells and whistles, except some of them don't work? Or is it better to roll out a few features that work extremely well? That's kind of situational in almost every instance, at least for me. I'd rather roll out a feature or a product with fewer features where everything works really, really well. In this case, the issue is less about giving the employee. So here the employee wanted opportunities to stretch themselves, but at the same time they were demonstrating some qualities that at least made me nervous about doing that. What's best for the company here? What's best for the company maybe not what's best for the employee, even though it kind of ends up being the same, which is let them demonstrate those skills. Help her understand that what she needs to do is make sure that the code that her team is producing, rolls out into production, needs to be a lot better in terms of quality, performance, whatever metric you're using. And one technique or tactic for doing that is that she hires some more experienced people. Ultimately, it's up to her. And then if she shows enough progress there, then she'll be ready for that promotion. And then in this case, well, here I think you just have to think about what is best for the company. Do you need that engineer to be continuing to work on these legacy services, say? Because you've already done them a little bit of a favor by, again, pulling strings and making that happen. And if it is, then you know what? Make that call. Tell them, I need you to work on this, say, for the next year. Iron out these other issues that are outstanding, and then we can talk about moving on to the new hotness, say. And if that engineer quits, okay, that engineer quits. I'm okay with that. So that's it. That's the end of my talk. If there's anything, the last thing, the way to summarize all of this is just something that I've just told people over and over again over the years. Just remember, people want things until they don't want them. That's how they are. All right, thank you.